Hello and welcome to Boomer and Beyond Wellness. I'm Angela Fischetti. So today we're going to do some yoga together, and this is gentle yoga for constipation. Now the accessories we'll be using will be a sticky yoga mat, and for those of you who might be new to the use of blocks, when you use yoga blocks, if you have more than one, you want them to be the same size. And this would be level 1, level 2, and level 3. Use whichever level works best for you. We'll also be using, if needed, an 8 or a 10-foot yoga strap. And also for those of you who are medicated or not for hypertension, have GERD or vertigo, I advise you to get a hold of a hand towel, fold it up, and just put it underneath your head when we're on our backs in a supine position, lying face up. Now, this brings me to the precautionary measures, medical disclaimers. The yoga mat is made out of latex, so if you have a latex allergy, please look for non-latex or latex-free. Also, for those of you medicated or not for hypertension, have GERD or vertigo, please avoid this position where you're really dropping the head down, a forward flexion of the cervical spine. You folks want to keep the head neutral. Conversely, when we're working on our bellies prone, face down, those of you who have had a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, or a stroke, be careful of hyperextension of the neck. The neck is perfectly capable of this movement. However, I wouldn't advise it for those of you with TIA or stroke. Also, for anyone who's been diagnosed with any back spine issue at all, but in particular if you've been told not to bend down and pick up something off the floor, not to forward flex the spine, and this could also be those of you with osteoporosis of the spine and postural deviation, in particular hyperkyphosis, which you're kind of in that hunched appearance. You folks want to stay upright, so therefore, in a posture like this, I'm in a seated wide angle called Upavishta Konasana. You folks can take that 8 or 10-foot yoga strap, so instead of going forward, right, into a forward bend, you folks can focus on staying upright and use your strap to help you do so. And when I work with a strap, I'm pushing out through the heels. Well, actually, in general on this pose, I would be pushing out through the heels, but I'm pulling from the biceps. None of this. I see a lot of this with the shoulders elevated, straight elbows. Let the biceps help you. So you're pushing and pulling simultaneously, and it just feels really great for you. Don't worry if you don't go to that forward bend. Also, those of you who have osteoporosis of the hip or have had a hip replacement, I'm standing pretty wide here. So you may have been told not to bring your legs very wide. So on anything like this, then you just bring your legs closer together. Also, if you have knee issues, oftentimes people with knee issues, they will sit in this kind of pose and do this. But it's not just your knees, right? It's not just your inner thighs that are tight. It's also your back. So for this kind of an issue, I would take the yoga block and sit up on 1 or 2 of them. Let me get these closer so they don't get away from me. 1 or 2 of them, so you have the height. Then that's going to allow your hips to open and your knees to lower. However, you still may be with your knees off the ground because you're higher up. Then you can use your towels underneath your knees for support. Also, for flexion of the knee, the deep bending of the knee, you can pull back on that, and I'll show you a modification as well. So I am mentioning chronic concerns here, folks, chronic issues that people experience. So I would ask you folks, even if I haven't mentioned your chronic concern, I would invite anyone with a chronic issue to please preview the video before participating and look for what you can do. If you're not sure, then I would invite the medical healthcare practitioner who knows your body best to preview the video as well to help you make an informed decision. So now let's just talk for a moment about how we're going to break down this class. So the movements that really help constipation, the movements of the body, would be forward bending, twisting, and also lying down on the belly with lots of compression. So we're going to break the class down in seated upright, supine on our backs face up, and then prone on the belly face down, and then ending in a nice corpse pose, Shavasana. So now let's just settle in for a few moments, close the eyes, sitting tall. Just take a few moments to focus in on the sound of your own breath. Breathing deeply in and out through the nose. Lifting up and out of the lower back and sending energy up and out the crown of the head to the skies from the Sahasrara chakra, rooting into our sits bones known as the ischial tuberosity. So through the simple act of sitting, we are connecting earth to sky. Shoulders dropped heavy, away from the ears. Soften the face, relax the mouth. Finding a few moments of gratitude and appreciation for ourselves, for sharing our yoga practice with each other, and for saving space for ourselves to take care of ourselves just by relaxing, releasing and letting go the stuff of the day. And then slowly open the eyes. Let's take some nice big shoulder rolls. So we're sitting here, at least I am, in a posture called seated wide angle, Upavishta Konasana. I'm very comfortable in this pose. Now I want to begin the compression on the large and small intestines. So I'm going to cup my fingertips, and you can use your fingertips as a form of a prop. You could also bring the blocks out in front. I've already demonstrated the strap for those of you who need to sit up versus doing what I'm doing now, starting to walk the arms out in front. Notice I'm not doing this. I'm not diving down, folks. I'm not breaking the line of the spine. I'm lifting, keeping the chin up, and slowly moving into the pose, stretching the adductor muscles of the inner thighs, stretching the hamstrings, even partly up into the glutes, down into the calves. And now you won't see the hands, but lengthening out in front, keeping the chin up. No, not sagging the head, but feel free if you want to lower the forehead to the floor. Or you can put your forehead on a block. Breath is in and out through the nose. In yoga, I'm pushing out through the heels, pressing down in the underside of the legs, toes stretched wide apart. And breathe. And then walking the hands back in, lengthen the torso forward to come all the way up, inhaling when you bring your head all the way up. And then exhale, I'm going to turn a bit on a diagonal now and shake the legs out. And I'm coming into butterfly pose. So bending the knees, place the soles of the feet together. Take a hold of the shins. Now, I'm doing a little bit of rocking from side to side just to get a sense of sitting up and forward on the ischial tuberosity. In yoga, we call them the sits bones. Really nice also, by the way, these tiny little massages for the lateral rotators deep to the gluteals. And hold steady, pull the butt flesh back and out. Now you can choose to stay here. Now just take a peek for the moment at my low back. Try to avoid this kind of slouching. So I use the strong arms, depressing the shoulders, and I'm actually honoring the natural lordotic curve of my lumbar spine. Now you could stay here, or if you are able to take your forward flexion, place your hands underneath your ankles, take a hold of the tops of the feet. Inhale, lift the head and the heart. Exhale, lengthen the torso forward. So now we are in diamond pose. Excellent for the sacroiliac joint. That gives you an idea of the location of the joint at the sacrum where it meets the ilium. And lengthening. For some of you, if you need to, maybe it really bothers your neck to keep the chin up, you can take a yoga block and place it across your feet and catch your forehead like so. You can keep the block higher if you wish. Really nice for the quadratus lumborum muscles at the low back. Oof, I feel this. Relax those shoulders back and down. And then inhale, turn the palms down. Exhale, slowly come all the way back up. Bring the hands to the outside of the knees. We're going to draw the knees in toward each other and your feet as close as possible to your hips. Now, those of you with the knee issues, this is where you can take your arms underneath the knees, take a hold of your elbows, so now you have some nice space there for the knee joint. If you don't have a knee issue, come real close, wrap your arms around your shins, take a hold of your elbows, inhale, lift the head and the heart, pull the belly button in, exhale, lower the forehead toward the knees in upright Pavanamuktasana, wind removing pose. Now inhale, lift the head and the heart, all to the grip on the elbows. Exhale, once again, upright Pavanamuktasana. And inhale, lift the head and the heart. Exhale, let's release the legs out in front, and because the knees were compressed like that, hyperflexed, I would suggest that you place your hands behind the knee and then push down on that calf muscle. Just open up the joint. Maybe windshield wiper from side to side. Now I'm going to face you with my right leg out in front, bending the left knee. Now we're going to come into a twist here. So here is a safer variation for those of you with osteoporosis of the spine. You may have been advised not to do some deep twisting or to twist at all, right? Then you don't do this. But if you are allowed a little bit of twist, then you can work here and then take your right arm underneath, hug in, and you can take your twist this way. It will reduce the range of motion. For the rest of us, cross over, and you can stay here, ankle to knee, lined up with the hip joint, or you can tuck the foot to the outside of the glute, hug it in, and push down in that left gluteal. Push it down. Belly button is in. And then inhale, I bring the arm up exhale, I'm going to medially rotate it to bring it behind me. But once I land the fingers down, I then laterally rotate the arm, slightly turning out as I hug that thigh into my colon. And breathe, breath in and out through the nose. Twisting postures, wringing out the intestines. And then inhale the head forward. Let's take a counter position. Exhale, lowering. Inhale, take it back up. And then exhale, we'll bring the legs out in front. Again, I would suggest pushing the calf flesh down toward the ankles. Shake it out a bit. So I'm going to bend that right knee again for osteoporosis of the spine. Keep it that shorter range of motion. Otherwise, let's cross over and bring the other leg over. So you're tucking the left heel to the outside of the right glute. Sitting down into that right hip. Foot facing forward. And wrap that left arm and hug in that right thigh toward the torso. Inhale the arm up. Exhale, medially rotate, internally rotate the arm to land it with the cupped fingertips, and then you laterally or externally rotate. Pressing down into the right foot and the right hand for leverage to lift and lengthen the spine. Inhale, exhale, take the twist. You can shift the abdominal flesh out of the way to make a little bit more room for your twist. You're twisting from just below the belly button. Try not to lean over the front knee. Some people start listing in this position. Shoulder out of the ear, rolling that right shoulder blade back and down. You might get spinal adjustments here, folks, in Ardha Matsyendrasana, half spinal twist, half fish pose. And then inhale the head forward, exhale, bring the torso and arm. Let's re-extend those legs out in front and push the calf flesh toward the ankles. So now we're going to move into the supine part of the class, lying down on the backs, face up. Don't forget the towel for some of you for underneath your head. So to come down onto your backs, you have a few ways you can do so. You bend the knees, feet securely on the floor. Holding behind your thighs, you can then lower down to one elbow at a time, or you can really flex that spine and roll down. Now, some of you know this is contraindicated for you, right? If you are particularly stronger, you feel pretty strong in the abs and the back, then you can bring your legs straight out, arms out, belly button is in, chin toward the chest. Take your time, rolling down onto your backs, pointing the feet down in plantar flexion. And then we're going to bring the knees right up into the chest. Now, I like hands behind the knees. Again, just spare the kneecap, the patella. And I'm gently rocking side to side in full wind pose, Pavanamuktasana. I really like this rocking side to side to help release that back a bit. And now from here, we bring the soles of the feet in dorsiflexion as if you're imprinting the sole of the foot on your ceiling. We bring the knees wider than the shoulders, just a bit to the outside of them and outside of your ribs. And then we take a hold of the outer arches of the feet and gently rock side to side in happy baby pose. Now, for some of you, if you're unable to do this by holding on to the feet, just take your strap and bring it across the soles of your feet, and you'll be able to do it. Again, you notice that we are compressing into both sides of the colon. And breathe. And now holding here, let's come into reclining wide angle. I'm just making sure my stuff is out of the way. Supta Konasana. So bring the legs out wide. Pushing out through the heels, stretching the inner thighs, the hamstrings, the calves. But it's also very, very relaxing, at least to me, on the abdominal organs, on the intestines. Breathe. Now inhale like a scissor, draw your legs straight up. Exhale, hold for a few moments. Pull the belly button down and in toward the floor. In Viparita Karani, legs up the wall pose, no wall. Really wonderful for that whole lower abdominal area. You can choose to plantar flex the feet, dorsiflex the feet if you prefer. Also happens to be quite good for depression, insomnia, varicose veins. So it is important to get proper sleep to help for constipation. Keep yourselves hydrated with water. Gently rock from side to side. Again, Pavana Uttasana, wind removing. Don't forget those wonderful plant foods. You know I live a whole food plant exclusive diet and lifestyle. So get those plant foods into you for the fiber as well. And I'm not talking about store-bought stuff in a jar, folks. Okay, now lowering that left foot down on the floor. Keep the knee bent. Dorsiflex the right foot and then take the right ankle across the left thigh. And then I'm going to bring that left knee up into the chest. Interlock the fingers behind the left thigh. Bend the right elbow. Push it into that right inner thigh. Make sure that the left ankle, left knee, left hip joint are in the same line as each other in reclining pigeon. Supta Kapottasana. And you'll notice a lot of the lower abdominal area working, but also on the inside, so this being the inside part of the colon, pardon me, where I'm pressing and there's pressure from my right arm. And breathe. Relax the shoulders, relax the neck, but work those biceps for pulling in. And then supporting that inside knee, gently set the feet down. For the moment, I want you to release those knees, please, to just straighten the legs out, give the knees a break. A little bit rocking myself side to side with my hands on that high pelvic bone, the iliac crest. Helps to release that low back a bit. And then we're going to bend the right knee, pull the left knee into the chest, dorsiflex that left foot, ankle across the thigh. Then we lift that right knee in toward the right shoulder, ankle, knee, shoulder joints, same line as each other. Bend that left elbow, push it into the left inner thigh. Now this posture may not be appropriate for many of you who have had a hip replacement or osteoporosis of the hip. If you've been approved to do these postures, fine. And breathe. So I'm feeling this on the outside portion of the colon nearest you. And boy, oh boy, lots of work in those lateral rotators and gluteals. oftentimes quite good for those with piriformis syndrome or sciatica, but not if you're in a flared condition, not if it's acute. And gently lower down, support that knee. Again, let's bring the legs out in front, straighten them out. Now, I'm going to bend the left knee, pull the right knee in, but then I'm going to straighten the leg, and with my peace fingers, yogi toe lock, take a hold of my big toe. So the fingers are wedged between the big and second toe. And here we are in Supta Padangusthasana, reclining big toe pose, literally it's called. Now you can stay here and get that stretch and get that compression on the ascending colon, on the right side of your colon. And if you want, you can straighten the outside leg. And I'm going to grab a hold of the foot. This one's a little tighter today. I did lots of weightlifting today, so I feel this, but I do love to do yoga after weightlifting. And breathe. Push out through both heels. And then if you want, bend the knee, place the foot on top of the thigh, and just take a gentle twist. So you turn your head away from the hip. And breathe in and out. For those of you with osteoporosis and you want to try anything that has a subtle twist, you can always prop yourself up on a couple of blocks so you're not going too close to the floor. And then inhale, pull it back in, exhale. Let's bring the other one in. And again, let's take wind removing and rocking side to side. And then lower the right foot down, but keep the knee bent and the foot on the floor. I like this approach versus keeping it straight out from the beginning for some people who have back issues, low back issues. So now we take the leg up. Now, because this is the side that I have an injury since a kid, I have to go off to the side a bit to help it out, to then bring it back in. And then we do our yogi toe lock, peace fingers between the big and the second toe, and extend the opposite leg. So now we have compression on the descending side of the colon. At least you do. This is technically my ascending side because it's my real right side. So let it all lengthen. Avoid pain, folks. You back off of a posture. If you find you're choking your breath back, you're not breathing. And then inhale, bend the knee, place the sole of the foot on top of the opposite thigh. And exhale, you can take your twist. Notice the palm is up, shoulder blade is down. If you find yourself doing this, then you take a block underneath your forearm or support at the elbow, whichever, wherever feels best for you. And breathe, reaching out through the left middle finger. Again, a nice twist. And then inhale, we come back to center, bring both knees in. Exhale, take the wind removing. And now I'm going to move this into more twisting, but I'm going to keep the twisting going. And again, if you prefer not to touch the floor because of osteoporosis of the spine, it would be a good idea not to. Keep it tiny. I like to visualize the face of a clock. For those of you with osteoporosis of the spine, visualize the face of a clock and go no wider than 1 and 11 o'clock on the face of the clock. And then you come back to center, hold for the moment. And now from here, I'm going to roll on over to my side to slowly come up. And I would like to come into a Sphinx pose. I really like Sphinx because it's a nice, gentle back bend. So lower, so just being a bit on a diagonal for you. So the forearms, elbows are down on the mat, and the wrists are flat. A lot of times I see this, people cupping. No, we want them flat, stretch the fingers wide apart, flare the thumbs toward each other, push down to lengthen the heart center forward, up and back. Looking forward, be careful that you're not overly doing it. Those of you with TIA or stroke, you can look out in front though. And notice a nice stretch in the abdominals. You want to reach back through the toes and breathe. No hunching. Don't allow any collapsing. Now, if you want to go further with this, you can inch your arms a little bit forward and then straighten the elbows. Turn those elbows forward, not in toward each other. Forward and up. Feels great on the back. And this is still a gentle back bend, but of course, for those of you who want to or need to, you can also come into Bhujangasana, Cobra. So you slide your hands down. You want to make sure the heels of the hands are flush to the floor. You can lift your hips, you can lift your torso and head. You can keep this small. You're going to notice the glutes are working a lot, the back erectors. You can lift the hands off the floor and breathe. And then I'm going to lower the hands down. Inhale, maybe I lift a little higher. Exhale, lower down. Now I'm going to turn my head to one direction. I'm going to turn it away from the camera. Big toes touch each other. Flop the heels away from each other. And then just gently pulse the hips from side to side, because it's a really nice way to release the back. And keep the pulsing of the hips going, and turn the head in the opposite direction. All wonderful positions for the colon. And if you want to do one more back bend, I do not advise females to work with their legs together, because yoga has brought down hundreds of years through the male physique. We have a Q angle. We're wider at the hip, even if we're very slim. So bring your feet a little bit wider apart, not touching each other for your back bending postures. And from here, I'm going to airplane the arms out to the sides of me, not straight out, a little bit like an airplane wing would be diagonal. Lift the legs. You can stay on the fingertips. You can lift the fingers, lift the head and the torso, and breathe. Inhale, maybe a little higher. Exhale, lower down. And now from here, I'm going to pull the hips back toward the heels in child's pose, Balasana. Be careful, those of you with knee issues, you may need to wedge your towels, one towel behind each knee, or you can have a block or two or a cushion underneath your buttocks. And we reach out. So as much as we push back, we're lengthening forward. And then inhale, lift the head. On the exhale, I'm going to walk the arms over to the right. It's really my real left, but for the right, because we want to work on that ascending colon. And we bring the arms out. So we're adding Parsva, side or flank, to Balasana. And then we walk center, inhale, exhale, keep going toward the outside knee, and go down. And for those of you who we discussed, keep your head up when needed. You can also put a block underneath your forehead so it's not dangling. I'm okay with the dangling. So beautifully massaging on one side the ascending colon, the opposite side now on this side the descending colon. And then one more time back to center. Inhale, exhale, forward. And slowly come on up. Let's bring those legs out in front. Push the calf flesh. Shake it out. I have so much cat hair on me. I'm always vacuuming for my beautiful cat tea, but can't quite get them. All right. Now we're going to come on to our backs in Shavasana, corpse pose. If you need to do this with your knees bent and the feet on the floor, because maybe it's too much on your lower back, do so. You could use a yoga bolster underneath your knees, even the yoga blocks. So let's take one more wind removing, rocking side to side. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today in Gentle Yoga for Constipation. I hope it helps alleviate some of it for you. And then we're going to release into whatever final relaxing position you would like. And expressing gratitude and appreciation for our bodies for working so hard for us. And gratitude toward each other for sharing our yoga practice with each other in the true spirit of yoga, yogi union. The light and spirit within me honors the light and spirit within you. Thank you so much. Namaste.